My name is Baratang Miya, the founder and the CEO of GirlHype. GirlHype is an NGO or nonprofit company that empowers women and girls in tech. It's a coding school with mainly focus on teaching girls how to code. I was born and raised in Klerksdorp and Jan Kempdorp, small towns in South Africa. I happen to have been to a township school, and those days it was really Bantu education that we received. So I was in a school where the teachers would teach in Tswana and we have to read and write in English, which was quite a bonus, but I would see the impact of that when I get to university. So now, because of the poor education I received, when I started studying, when I get to university and started studying at UCT, it was the first time I touched a computer. I had very poor writing skills in terms of presenting my information. And that led to me being lacking confidence in what I wanted to present and what I wanted to tell people in general, like communicate in terms of paper, communicate in terms of knowledge. I was very unprepared for what the university was asking from me. Yeah, I'm a very self-determined person. Within a year, I had changed all that about myself, and I studied, I finished, I got my degree in industrial psychology and finished and did my postgrad in marketing. And when I finished marketing, the following year, I decided straight away that I'm not going to work for anybody. I will start my own business. I had been entrepreneurial before, so being an entrepreneur is a big thing for me. So starting my business just came natural. So I started GirlHype in 2003, and the aim of GirlHype was to empower women and girls and teach them how to use computers. So 2003, 2004, I was teaching Microsoft, like how to do PowerPoint presentation, how to use Word, and how to do presentations at schools. 2005, I met a guy who taught me how to code. The moment I learned how to code, I fell in love with it. It just felt perfect. It was something I had been looking for that would give women a voice, something I had been looking for that would give them power in terms of being employed and being able to create content online. And yeah, so GirlHype started in 2003. 2005, we moved from just being a computer training academy, if you were to call that, to a proper coding school. And the model that we set up was we would work with universities. Universities were providing computer labs because those days there was no computers in schools. There were computers, but the internet was very horrible. So the kids would come for school camps at CPUT or University of Cape Town during school holidays. And then when schools are not closed, when schools are open, we would then go teach them in their computer lab. So we could do offline teaching and online teaching. And that worked very well for us because now we formed a model where schools, universities, and corporates were working together. Because our program is free, no students pay for our programs. So what we do when we are in schools, if you were to ask me, we have mentors. So what mentors do is someone who either works in the industry or studying computer science or just have the love for computers and they know what to do in terms of coding. Or people who have skills that the industry needs, like marketing, business development, because what we do is we teach them skills that they can use in the industry. So when we go to school, we will teach HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and the girls would use that skill to either develop an app or develop a game. So they have a product that they develop so that they should know what are the outcomes of what they are doing and what it means when they were to work in the industry. So our mentors come and they work with the girls in schools, and that's during the week. On weekends, the girls will come to GirlHype and spend 8 hours of a day coding. Why 8 hours? Everybody always asks me why 8 hours. It takes a certain amount of time for a mind to switch on to coding. So the first 3 hours, we always say they're just programming the mind to think like a computer. So we say 8 hours because then the 5 hours, that's when they're now starting to work by themselves with a computer. So the girls are 16 to 18 when they're in high school, grade 10 to 12, and they enter competitions like Technovation, where it's a global competition, and they learn how to come up with an idea, design an app, build a business plan for that app, create a pitch deck, and from that pitch deck, go present their idea in front of a panel of judges. The panel of judges come from the community of Cape Town startup entrepreneurs, or startup entrepreneurs if we are in Durban or Johannesburg. Then we'll have startup entrepreneurs sitting as panel of judges to coach them on how to do their public speaking, how to, if the idea is worth it and it can be taken as a global competition. Then they enter into a Technovation competition, which is global. We've managed to send 2 teams to San Francisco up to so far, and we've got our in-house trained person who trains in terms of Technovation. She also went to San Francisco. It's a Silicon Valley-based training model. So she went to San Francisco to be trained on how to teach young girls to succeed in tech. And besides the tech labs that we form in schools, we work with Africa Code Week. Africa Code Week, what we do is we go teach kids in primary school, so maybe from grade 4 to grade 10. We teach them how to use computers. So in that week, we teach them Scratch. And on Scratch, they build games. They learn how to use the computer. Some of these kids have never touched a computer before. And it's the first time they touch a computer, but for them, it's something we leave there with them is that though it was the first time I touched a computer, I managed to see how the computer functions and how do people put content into the computer. And building your own app, it's one of the best things they can ever do. So what we also do is that our girls that are on, we've got another different program that we call, so there was a program that we call high school program with tech clubs. Then we have a program of girls that are unemployed, graduates, and they want to go into tech. So these girls, what we do with them, we give them, they sign a contract with us and they are on a 1-year contract. It's like a boot camp where they receive a stipend of 3,500 Rand per month towards their studies, so that they use how they wish, but one of that is so that they can buy data. All of them receive a laptop, individualized, like they have their own laptop that they can work from home or work when they come to our classes. They have access to a Microsoft online curriculum on a LinkedIn platform. The curriculum is also JavaScript, and they get a certificate of competence that is like level 7 after completing the course, and they are employed. So because it's linked to their LinkedIn profile and because it's supported by Microsoft, as they finish modules, companies can see that, okay, you finished these modules and you are qualified for this. And when they qualify, Microsoft give them an accredited certificate from Pearson's. And for that program, we take 30 students per year. This year, we decided to take 10. We've got partners that are paying for their stipends, partners that that give them laptops. So this is a collaboration between us and different other companies. And what we've learned is that, maybe I should use myself as an example. When people were saying to me, coming from the education I received, you have to be a team player, I thought of team playing based on how I know a team player. I looked at things from my cultural perspective. Whilst the corporate world has its own way of what is discipline, what is team player, what is being goal-oriented. And so what we've decided is, instead of us having our biases and putting barriers in front of the girls and saying, being a team player is being nice, because obviously it can be complicated to explain to someone what is being a team player. What we've decided is to take the girls out to the field and show them how do they come together. So we either do hiking, where they learn. Hiking is a skill on its own. Or those who don't want to hike, they attend hackathons. Those who don't want to attend hackathons, we have curriculums where we bring other companies that we partner with to teach them life skills that will make them survive in the workplace. And you can see there we're hiking, and with hiking, we know that they learn self-discipline, time management, goal orientation, teamwork, because we put time frames on. This is when we start, this is when we finish. And I'm just going to show a quote from one of the girls who sent it to me when she finished her first hike. So what she said was, Sisanda said to me, when we about to start hiking, I was so excited, energetic. But when I was climbing, I was so tired. I wanted to stop and go back. But when I look at the back, it's so far. So I decided to continue what I've started. But when someone was helping me, it was difficult because I was climbing on their speed that they set for me. So when we started, a person like Zisanda, she thinks she's big and she thinks she doesn't have speed. And so I put her on Table Mountain. This was a platted lake hike. When we started, Zisanda thought she was excited. She had a goal. She was going to finish it. But as we got to the middle, she was challenged. She couldn't breathe. It was just a nightmare for her. And she felt like, my goodness, maybe I should go back. And I said to her, it's fine. You go backwards. But the challenge is going backwards. You see, we are already halfway. And when we come, everybody's going to finish and they're going to feel great about it. And because we pair them, when they start, we just put them in pairs. We put someone who's faster with someone who's slow. They don't know why we do it, but we always do that. We look at who's faster and we pair them with a slower person. And 90% of the time, the faster person will always push this out. Let's go. Everybody's leaving us behind, because there's prizes that we give them. And with Sisanda, she was paired with someone who's so fast. And every time this person said, Sisanda, let's go, move. She was so frustrated along the journey. She wrote it that she couldn't keep up. But then they decided amongst themselves that, you know what, you do you, I do me, and we just keep on climbing. And the moment they did that, she said, the moment she did that, her mindset changed. So, but when someone was helping me, it was difficult because I was climbing on their speed that they set for me. But when I did it by myself, I found it easy because I was climbing on my own speed. And that showed me that in life, we should walk on our own speed, never compare yourself with anyone. And what I learned is that we can start all together at the same time, but we'll never finish at the same. Sometimes some will be behind and others will be in front. That's how is life. Some will achieve their goals first and you will be the last, but at the end, you will get what you wanted. And also she saw that some were in front, but in the end, they were behind because they were tired, and those who were last became first. That teaches me, in life, you can be on top, but tomorrow you can be on the bottom. Never look at others as failures because they can achieve their goals one day. So the summary is Zisanda being slow, thinking she couldn't do it in the middle, about to give up. She was the first to finish because somewhere in between, she changed her mindset and said to herself, you know what, I'm not going to go according to these people's speed. I'm going to do it faster, and this is how I'm going to do it. But because she was more determined than everybody else was doing it at their own pace and they were fine. Because she was determined, when we stopped and started taking breaks and eating, Zisanda just kept on going and going and going. Towards the end, she was leading the whole team. And that changed her whole perception about life. So I could show lots of different kind of quotes that comes from the girls, and you will understand what it means for them to see, feel, and touch skills that they wouldn't normally get. Because also to think logically and to have that capability of seeing innovation around you. It's very difficult. It's not something that we are taught in our schools. So when we hike, when we go on company visit, or when we just go on a field trip and we go on and do design based on what we are seeing outside around us, it becomes easy for them. And it makes it easy for them to understand what we are talking about, how the world in tech is. So as I said, some will participate in hackathons. I used the Capitec hackathon. So if I'm invited to do something on the hackathon, I'll always encourage them, please participate on this hackathon, because that's where they learn real life skills of tech. Students face a lot of problems. In the beginning, it was virtual learning. Not everybody knows and understand what is virtual learning. It was new to them, and it was something they have to get used to. And as coders, we need to solve through initiatives that can benefit them in future. So if we take them to a hackathon, it's something that they are touching and feeling, and it changes, it just flicks something in their brain, and it makes them understand what we mean when we say challenges. If they enter a Technovation challenge, they're solving challenges in their communities. It makes them realize that tech is a tangible thing that they can use, and they can, how can they work in it? So for us is that even though they have all these things around them, when they start having to take what we've taught them into a virtual learning, it was one of the biggest challenge. And now with COVID-19, we had lots of lack of face-to-face engagements with them, and our facilitators were fast-paced instead of them. We also lacked that pairing, because they learn from each other. When they start, we always pair them partners. They self-teach each other in the process. So that was lacking, because now everybody was at home. And that was one of the biggest challenges, because they didn't have anyone motivating them. They don't have facilitators correcting everything they are doing. And there were lots of technical issues, like some devices wouldn't work, some devices would work, and we went there to troubleshoot and help them with what the challenges that they were facing. And this caused a lot of delay in terms of their work. It caused a lot of delay in terms of us having to motivate them to realize that that is just how it is in the life of tech. Some things are going to work. Some days a computer is going to crash. You have to be there and do it. So because we went physically there to motivate them, it was one of the biggest challenges we face, especially now. And we don't normally use textbooks, but now when they were home, we encouraged them to use textbooks to supplement what they are studying online. And just to upload or download a textbook or buy a textbook was also another challenge, because some of them claimed there's little money. All of a sudden, 3,005 wasn't stretching enough to cover all of the things they needed. And that put them at a risk of failing at last, because there was lack of understanding and they didn't have a backup plan, compared to us sending them videos, and the videos were still technical because of English being a challenge. Data is always extremely expensive. Depending on the amount of data they buy, it's still not enough for one who wants to be a software developer. The study environment is not conducive, because some of the students, our students, live in shacks. They live in community where just to sit in front of a laptop and focus is not something that is acceptable. What I've learned now during COVID-19, that it's not something that's acceptable to sit in front of your laptop and work. The people just don't take it serious. I don't know why. So we used a lot of WhatsApp to communicate with our students, which is not conducive to someone who wants to study computer science. Yes, it's WhatsApp, but it doesn't deliver content the way we want it to be delivered, and it doesn't give them the confidence we want. We wanted them to be able to build confidence of a software developer. And it has really opened our eyes on, because now we were a bit far apart. So the safety net that we've created for them in a classroom at school or in a classroom when they come to GirlHype was not there. So what we've learned now is, how do we make sure that our laptops are everything content, everything is downloaded upfront, and how do we make sure that when we give it to them, we don't expect them, we can spoon feed them a little bit in the beginning so that we make life easy for them, because our townships are not prepared for our students. And yeah, our key activities, we've got hackathons. So during the hackathons, when they're doing the ideation and prototype building cycle, we checking that. Normally we do for 2 days, we check which of the students are good. That's how we do our recruitment. And those who performed very well in the hackathons and who could problem solve are the ones that we take further. And we've got the outcomes of that is that we put them on our what we call our software engineering program, that is either learning Python, Java, or HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's our basic ones where they start. And we have platforms that help us track their progress so that they can achieve their professional milestone that we do in partnership with Microsoft. We have a training plan that we go through with them in the beginning when we recruit them. We go through a training plan of, you have to achieve this by this time, and they don't do that. If they don't achieve all that, we help. If we can't help further, because we give in stipend, it becomes a bit difficult. They get disciplined and some end up leaving. Our turn-up rate is not that bad. 80% of our students stays. 80% of our students from high school end up studying computer science. Up to so far, for the past 17 years, we are busy doing tracking our report. We used to think we've trained plus minus 300,000 combined with our partners, but now the number is growing every time we are plotting on our impact plan on how we've achieved. So we've introduced a thing called council meetings, where once a quarter we have a strategy workshops between our students and the leadership, and in that we are discussing the progress of the students. We define the strategy. This is very personalized to the students themselves. We set objectives of how they can finish and how they can go further and finish the qualification they signed up for. And these are a day-long sessions. We don't want to call them mentoring sessions, because internally we have our own mentoring program. So these are council meetings. We call them council meetings just to make them feel special on the day. And yeah, I think I've said enough. Thank you. Oh, one of the things that the girls are busy with, staying home, they're creating video content for the program, either a JavaScript curriculum or HTML curriculum. All these, they're doing them in what we call a lingo. We haven't really defined it. They can speak English mixed with Xhosa at the same time. The way they would speak when they're in the township, we said they must create that, teaching HTML, teaching JavaScript, and all this video content that we are creating. We're going to create small podcasts, and then we will send them to the little ones in high schools or primary schools. They will subscribe onto our platform so that we can now start engaging our community in terms of software development. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Baratang. Are there any questions?
Sorry, not so much a question, but just to say thank you. I really enjoyed it, and it gives a total perspective of many dynamics that's important to any space of life, and especially in the tech space. So yeah, wonderful. Thanks.
I actually have a question, Baratang. I was actually wondering how big is your workforce, and how are you guys tackling, having to kind of work separate during the coronavirus?
So at the moment we have 21, including the students, because I said we reduced the number to 10. When COVID started within our partners, the people that are paying stipend, we could only continue with students that were more dedicated, because we knew we're not going to be able to give them enough support. We relied more on WhatsApp, and it's people talk about digital divide. We talked about it so much in the beginning of 2003 when I started. We underestimated the impact of digital divide. So some of our students we give students money. They can buy data like Vodacom. But when you are in Kailicha and you are sitting in Rondebosch and you have access to fiber, it's totally two different ballgame. The person sitting and using the Vodacom Wi-Fi, within 1 hour, they finished 2 or 3 gigs of their data. Whilst I have access to open Wi-Fi and of fiber, and I'm paying the same amount of money. So we made a decision that because the challenge that's facing our students, it's broadband issue. It's access to proper internet. We're not going to push them too hard onto making sure that they're always online. So what we do is they send us WhatsApps, and we track the work that they are doing via the platform itself, because we are on Microsoft-sponsored platform. It's a LinkedIn platform that they've created just for GirlHype. So I can see when they logged in, so they can log in anytime they want. And questions, they send them through WhatsApps, and our facilitators are recording answers and resending them through WhatsApp. It's really sad to see that even if you have a computer, if you live in townships, you still don't have access to real internet. I don't know if I'm making sense. It's been one of our biggest frustrations ever. Our schools really shut down. Like there was nothing they could do. They went in school, they went in, they didn't have, most of them, I now realize they don't even have cell phones. They're using their parents' cell phones. So when we were sending WhatsApps, you'll get a parent saying, oh, now because I'm home, can you please reduce the amount of WhatsApps you send on GirlHype, because this is really my phone. And I'm like, okay, now this is more complicated. So some of the girls have a phone, but when they want to go on the Wi-Fi, the internet, the phone that has proper WhatsApps, they are using their parents' phones. I wouldn't say it's something that we could have solved as GirlHype, or I wouldn't say even if we partnered with a big corporate, it would have helped if that corporate was not willing to give us data, because our biggest challenge was data. It was nothing else. And I think South Africa as a whole needs to solve the broadband issues, the fiber issues in our communities, because the best places where you get nice internet in the townships, funny enough, it's in schools, and schools were closed. So that's when I realized that there's no access points to good fiber and good internet in the townships. It's nowhere. I'm not sure if I'm making sense. Maybe I'm betting out my frustration here. It's my frustration now. I keep on dwelling on it. And the other thing is our students are not first language English speakers. And tech on its own, software development, it's a language. Now, us not being in front of them and working with them, we found that we were now just spoon feeding just to keep them going and not demotivated by saying, okay, do this. Then they say, I don't have this, I can't. Instead of us saying, yeah, Google is your friend. Normally we would say, Google is your friend, Google it, see how other people are doing it, research. We couldn't say that at all, because they will then come back to us and say, but the internet is not working, my laptop had a challenge. It was such a dynamic situation that we've gone through with COVID-19. I really hate it. Yeah, I do. I think I do. Sorry.
Thank you for that. Any other questions?
Francois again. I think from a non-technical point of view, just working from home, the whole data thing and I also sometimes get the sense that sometimes even the signal or the bandwidth in certain areas are less. So even if you pay for the same data, it is just slower. So to participate in Teams or whatever, it's not always the same. But I just want to question you on something else, or just to observe from what you said, is that you said, the willingness of people to work and even be disciplined and driving, and you also have a system of, in a way, selecting those that are willing to work hard and be motivated. Maybe you can expand a bit on how you differentiate a bit, or and also the role of people's own drive or something like that.
So all our girls, when they start, they don't write. We don't give them exam. We don't say, go write this tech test or whatever. No, they come in. We have our own curriculum that we've built, and it's built around who am I. So you tell a story about who are you, but you're creating a kind of Facebook model. The way Facebook is designed, we will say, this is how you create links, this is how you create what, this is how you create, but put it together and create who am I website. This is my home, so you will take the home and the structure. Now, it takes a lot for one to sit there and logically plot how I'm going to create my links, my elements, my what, by talking about myself. And because we use that saying, this is how Facebook was built, Facebook was saying, who are you? Now I'm going to create this platform for you, and this is how you've created yourself. 90% of the time, people who don't want to think cannot even think about who are they. It's as silly as it sounds. When you start telling them, tell me a little bit about yourself, they are lazy to say, I was born in Klerksdorp and I have a grandmother, or they're not there, or they can't be my friend, or these are the issues. So when we start there, make it more fun, because they do it in partnership. They tell their friends about them, and their friends tell them about them. And we say, now, this is how you're going to plot it in tech, create blocks around it, create this, create this. And in those exercises, we can see the people who are energetic and who are talkers, and those who are willing to say, when we teach them how to create a button, you will see that there are those who they've never touched a computer, but when we say, here's how you create a button, here's the syntax, something inside them switches. They get excited, and those ones, we group them. The ones who are chatterboxes, we group them as chatterboxes. And we partner the two together, one who can be a developer and one who can be a creator, a content creator. So they want to work together like that in teams. So we keep on giving them small challenges. And when they pass the challenge, they go to another challenge. When they pass the challenge, they go to another challenge. And the challenges are all based around solving issues around firstly, it started with you, then it goes bigger and it goes into your community. Then we'll say, last week, 45 girls are pregnant in the community. How are we going to make sure that all of them, we have a list of them on a register? When they get to the clinic, they see a nurse on time. So we give them direct challenges that will make them think differently, but think in a software development. And as they go along, then we start giving them the JavaScript challenges that are there, like the apps, design those challenges. If we've started, what we've learned, what we do, we start there by teaching them how to create their button without telling them this button, this is a syntax, this is what. We just want them to see, how they are willing to take a risk of copying a code and pasting it. And if something goes wrong, they then fix it until it works. Because technically, that's what's going to happen in their software development. So once we take them from that, now they know how to speak the language. They're now comfortable with saying button, elements, links, array. Then we start saying, okay, these are the rules of technology. 90% of the time, those who came there for fun have flipped off. They keep on dropping by themselves. The ones who were very good in creative and creating content now begin to know how I structure my code. When somebody asks me a question, how do I structure it in a manner that it's more of a content that can be plotted on a computer? And we take them out, we see what are the challenges in terms of their thinking ability, and those who are more energetic will stay. Then this is all in a month, the first month of just trialing and erroring and showing them lots of things that are complicated, but in the end, we bring it together and we say, now we're going to start our curriculum. Anyone who's willing to stay, are they willing to stay? Yes. The other thing that we've realized, it's time management. The girls who are always on time in the beginning are looking forward to come to the class, and they will always show up, and they will always make sure that they get energetic and excited, to the point even sometimes if I show up late, they say, oh, you went on time, but this is what I've done. They go home and they take work home, or they start doing their own research and they think about how to think logically. Now you start encouraging those. I always, and when they start, we use a simple sentence, but I always tell them, you cannot develop a person who doesn't want to be developed. You cannot waste your time on someone who's not ready to move from one space to the other. And tech has being a software dev, you have to think a certain way. And if you are not, I always say, if you are not born to pursue problem solve. If you're not a problem solver, you cannot be a software developer. Now we look for that we give them all these challenges, and if they cannot, out of their own, try to push harder, try to come back, come on time, and make sure that this thing is, if it's not sorted, it's frustrating them. We know that it's going to give us a hard time. It doesn't matter what we do. So those are the ones we look for. And there's a way of identifying them right from the beginning, and you say, hey, I see you have a potential. Then you start pumping them with a lot of work, because they won't change. Their energy, enthusiasm doesn't change. They found something they like.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Any more questions?
We work with girls that we know that they would have never had an opportunity in life if we did not intervene. Or even if they were to get an opportunity in life, there would still be lots of gaps, lots of skills. So we try very hard to solve them before they get there. Or they went to school and the school did not fix the puzzle. They were left with lots of gaps. And we make sure that by the time they finish with us, when they go and work for somebody, they feel confident and they're capable. So we work a lot on confidence building and making sure that you walk into spaces on an equal footing with anyone who you were to be competing against. So if somebody says, I'm a software dev, and you say, I'm a software dev, your equal footing is if you walk into a meeting room, you've learned how to speak, how to present, how to. So our work as GirlHype, it's on the how to, confidence building, and skills development. So it makes it difficult because we work with someone that we've identified they have the capability and the capacity and they can do it. They look like me. I did not have good schools. I did not have the foundation that could make me the kind of the person I am today. And if they're given an opportunity and somebody is willing to invest their time on them, they're capable of taking themselves to another level. So the level that they go to when they leave our programs is the level that they couldn't have reached if we didn't intervene. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that insight into what you do for these girls. Baratang, it is the team will be presenting their final ideas on Friday. Do you have any last words for them?
Yes, the live, it says Capitec Live 2.0, and I thought about it a lot in the beginning, that Capitec is known for innovation because I work in the innovation space. But Capitec was the first bank my mother banked with. She was unbanked. She never had a bank. She was a domestic worker. She lived all her life without a bank card. And she's got a bank card now. And we need organizations like that in South Africa. We are a country with so many problems and so many opportunities. When there's too many problems, there's too many opportunities. But at the same time, we are a country that competes globally. And whatever, I think if you can come up with an idea that will solve a simple problem, like having a woman who was a domestic worker bank after many, many years and know how to use the bank to be included in this new technology, in this new world that we are going into, where 80% of the time people are sitting in front of a computer, people are sitting in front of the laptop. I think you would have achieved something. That's the life we're talking about. That is not leaving anyone behind, that is going to be inclusive and inclusive of women. We live in a country where women are still being killed. Femicide is huge. Young girls are playing mom and a student. And we live in a country that only 20% of the people have proper internet and proper broadband. And we live in a country where there was lockdown. It meant Eastern Cape schools were literally locked and closed. Western Cape schools, 80% of the schools were still functional. So it doesn't matter how exciting your design is. It doesn't matter how much money you're going to make out of it. The world can solve those problems. Facebook can solve that problem. You would still be successful even if you were to solve a problem of a nobody. I always say I was a nobody, I think, and I tend to be this person. And I think people forget that, and it's just sad. Sorry. Yeah. That's my last tweet.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, and for joining us on this journey. Teams, you heard the parting words. I hope that you were inspired by the session with Baratang today. Baratang, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.